Good morning and welcome to our Digital Discoveries session this morning. My name is Matt Minner. I'm with Catalyst Connection, and joining me today is Tony Kaczmarek. How you doing, Tony?
Very well. How about yourself this morning?
I'm doing great. Well, thanks for joining us. And Tony's with Andonix, and we're going to be talking about digitizing your shop floor and how that helps reduce costs and boost productivity. So before we get started with that, I'm just going to run through this program today. Is brought to you by our Smart PA initiative. This is a Department of Energy focused initiative on deploying smart manufacturing with small and medium manufacturers across Pennsylvania. And so that is the unique piece, is not just a Catalyst effort while we're leading the program. This is available to manufacturers all across the state through our partner organizations. As which you see here, we have 7 centers across Pennsylvania, which are able to administer all the resources that we have for this program, including our partners at Digital Foundry in New Kensington, which focus around, specifically support for technology deployment and training development. So lots of great resources. Again, it's supported by the Department of Energy, the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development, and SESME, the Clean Energy and Smart Manufacturing Innovation Institute. We have a wide range of resources, generally starting from that typical spot of helping manufacturers like yourselves identify opportunities for deploying technology, where you're not just deploying technology for technology's sake, but what are the challenges and what are the opportunities you have to improve. And that's a lot of what we're going to talk about today, how this kind of technology can do just that. We have free and low-cost technical assistance, along with some mini grants that are available for $5,000 to offset the costs of your deployments, along with no-cost smart manufacturing training that's being delivered by Digital Foundry all across the state, and there's a lot more to come on that. And this is while we may be focused on more the smart manufacturing element in terms of data, digitization, etc. This really goes across all technology aspects when it comes to the Smart PA program. So really nothing's out of bounds. If you have anything that you're exploring or interested in, definitely want to connect up with the Smart PA team to learn more. And lastly, as always, this webinar will be recorded, so you're able to revisit or share with others that may be interested, and you can connect with any of our prior sessions at our on-demand site through our Catalyst Connection YouTube channel. And yeah, just look forward to connecting with all of you as we move forward. So with that, let me make Tony, I will make you the presenter. And so you'll be able to share your slides and start rolling here. Yeah, as he's getting prepared, please, if you have any questions, feel free to post them in the chat. I'll be watching, and yeah, look forward to the discussion here, Tony.
Awesome. Just making sure you can see my screen.
It just came up. Looks good.
Awesome. Okay, so thank you so much for having me, and I had the good fortune to get to actually meet you in person last week and connect with some of your team members. So really exciting to see what you guys are doing, and again, dovetails into a lot of what we're doing is trying to see what we can do to remove friction for manufacturers to adopt technology and see really quick ROI and be able to transform their businesses for the better. So excited to work with you guys, and certainly appreciate the opportunity. So again, Tony Kaczmarek, COO with Andonix. I've got a long history in manufacturing and automation and integration dating back to the 90s. Back before we didn't call it IoT, it was just systems integration and SCADA solutions. But kind of built my way up through facilities automation and industrial automation, and then started getting into manufacturing integration in around 2000. And it was interesting because I was really excited in manufacturing to get into systems integration directly into a cloud-based system, an MES system. And I was really excited because I saw the integration into the cloud, into the business systems, as parts were being made and labels were being printed. And I thought, oh, we accomplished it. We did the last mile. And really what I learned after I started doing more and more of those integrations was we discovered it really wasn't the last mile. There was a degree of context and knowledge and activities that were going on beyond what I thought was the last mile. So Andonix really kind of filled that sweet spot in yearning that I had to resolve that issue specifically with operators and frontline workers. So today I'm going to focus on how digitization and digital transformation really impacts those shop floor workers. I just had a fun conversation yesterday with an old customer, and we were talking about how I think a lot of times operators are seen as an obstacle and something that you just have to kind of deal with. Whereas my background, I always look at really enabling and empowering those operators to really amplify their capabilities and their knowledge and their ability to take action. So that's a little bit of what I'm going to be focusing on today. Move forward here. So it's interesting. I can't believe how many plant floors I still walk into, and I still see paper on the floor. I still see whiteboards. I still see all of this legacy technology that really does nothing but hide. Not only does it hide the data, but it's a time suck for people that are populating these things, and they just kind of disappear into nowhere land. And not only do they disappear, they don't allow us to take action. And potentially, as importantly, the operators and the shop floor people don't see the impact of why they're doing all these types of things. We're missing all of that tribal and real-time knowledge because there's too much friction. Oftentimes, even if you do have like an ERP or an MES or a CMMS sitting on the plant floor, it requires a chunk of training, and even if you are skilled at it, it's something that's a distraction to sit down and enter in data, get through logins and a lot of what we call gray work, where you're not actually doing anything productive. You're logging into systems, you're getting into the right locations, you're navigating, you're typing this, and oh, that I got to go back to here because I forgot to put that in. So there's so much friction on the shop floor. So I've been spending most of my career on how do we get rid of that friction, and how can we make that low risk, high ROI to a really connected shop floor, not just something that is connected by wires and we're all set. There's more to being connected than just having a wire or an APIs. It's making sure that information, that knowledge is active and actionable. And then on the shop floor, we're dealing with the new generation of operators are coming. They're digital native operators, and they're really expecting real-time tools. They're digital at home. They've got access to their bank and to Netflix and to their Ring camera and everything else. And then they walk into a plant and they're spending 90 minutes a day writing information into a clipboard or onto a whiteboard that goes nowhere. And then there's a lot of these kind of pseudo digital systems that might be Excel, might be a CMMS system, and even getting into the ERP and the MES system. These types of systems are really kind of what I call trap systems. I had a meeting not too long ago with a Ford engineer, and I said, I know you guys have the MES system. I know that you have CMMS, QMS, all of these systems, but I said, when something goes down, how do you guys react to it? Are you capturing on any of that information in those systems? And he's like, nope, absolutely not. We've got binders, we've got clipboards, we've got radios, and you think about all of those systems that they're using, none of that is captured anywhere. All of that is kind of lost into the ether. And so even if you did have those sitting on the platform, again, you have a lot of that gray work. Something's burning, something's, oil is pouring down the floor, the PLC is down. The last thing that you want to be doing is looking at the guy in the corner here, trying to find a desk that has the the PC for you to be able to log in and start affecting entering in data of what's going on. So this this forces us naturally to find what tools do I have while I'm sitting at the machine. So a lot of these types of trapped systems are built for the back office. They're really not built for the front line. So as I think about digitization capabilities, and hopefully not hear me stumble on that word too many times, is really getting into how does that impact and connect and allow people to take action on the shop floor. So getting into some of your operating types of things that you're doing on the plant floor, the safety checklist, the quality review, the first piece setup. Tracking what people are doing real time, all of this real time operational intelligence. Oftentimes that's all kind of glossed over, and people really miss the impact of what's happening right now. All of these systems, the ERP, the MES, they're great for standard, and they're great for planning, and they're great for history, but in the moment, if you will, all of those types of things are really missed, not only in capturing it from the operators, but making it available to the operators as well. All of that stuff is kind of stuck behind all of those logins and non-intuitive interfaces, UI and UXs that are a real pain to be able to find what you're looking for. Then I also think about digital alarm and escalation, making sure that I walked into a plant recently that they had a stack light, and I'm like, cool, you got a stack light. What is that connected to? They're like, well, it's tied to the machine. I said, well, do you know anything about that? Does anybody else, other than somebody that's in the physical proximity, do they know where that's at and how long it's been in the alarm state and what causes there are? And none of that is captured in those cases. So having true connectivity and traceability into what's been going on and allowing people to get into root cause analysis, not only for them starting it, but guiding teams with the information that they need to be able to start taking action and using that for root cause analysis. And then all of that, as we're doing all of these, these check sheets, as we're doing, alerts and root cause analysis and fixing things, all of that should be captured. If it's not, it's interesting. I was walking into a plant recently, and they had something like 80% churn on their plant floor operators over the last 3 years. And all of that knowledge, because it was done by radios, or was done with the clipboard or somebody chatting, none of that was captured. So 80% of that tribal knowledge just instantly walked out the door, forever lost. And then when I think about digital transformation, I think about IIoT, of course, is so popular. And there's a reason for that. It's gotten low cost for us to have the ability to see exactly what's happening right now with your shop floor equipment, know exactly when it goes down, and not dependent on an operator to have to go to some screen somewhere and be able to type that in. We want your operators working on value-added things, not necessarily going in and trying to find which machines are down and reporting that. So, and these types of tools also allow us to do, recording production and scrap, looking at what your cycle times are, what your uptime is, what your OEE is. So IIoT really helps kind of improve the granularity of that and release your operators so they can focus on productive things, making parts instead of sitting in front of a PC. And what's been really cool is watching how AI agents have been able to jump into the picture recently to really be able to amplify the capabilities of workers on the shop floor, to be able to use AI and ask it questions that you may not be comfortable to ask your boss, or something where you want to get a standard procedure, or you want it to create it dynamically for you so you can use that in your day-to-day things. And it really helps to be able to take action. A lot of the knowledge is either hidden in systems or hidden in people that may not be accessible to operators real time. So having an AI agent be able to supplement operators as things are happening has been super powerful, and watching it really affect and impact the ecosystem. There's a lot of talk about how AI is going to scour data lakes of 2 trillion pieces of information and sort through all that and see a relationship that may impact a machine going down in 3 years. We're always looking for those very tangible, impactful things that that really allow an operator to do a much better job right now, right at this moment. And then, of course, integrations. I don't want to be too dismissive when I talk about ERP and MES. They have a tremendous role as a system of record for capturing all of that history. So we want to take advantage of that. We don't want to. We want to amplify the capabilities of those systems instead of kind of putting them into the scrap pile. So we're always looking for how does digitization really take advantage and amplify those systems through effective APIs to be able to connect and deliver more information from the shop floor, from equipment, from people, and make that get into the system of record. So that allows forecasting and planning and a lot of the things that are hard to get that granularity just by somebody typing things in. So there's all sorts, when we get into digitizations, there's all sorts of things that it impacts. And it's kind of funny because as I've consulted people through the last couple of decades of, where are your pains at? And they're always kind of, pretty consistent in the operational execution. In manufacturing, it's really focused a lot in getting into some of the standardized work as far as, your quality and capturing metrics from the shop floor. Having reliable information, workflows, those types of things. And really where we've put a lot of our impact is really making sure that people are a focus of that. It's great to have all of these systems in place, but if it's not contextually available and accessible and easy to consume, easy to push back, none of that really matters because it's just, again, it's trapped in those systems. And what's kind of cool is as all of these things are moving and taking place, some of your kind of side effects, if you will, is all of a sudden you're capturing all of this information that helps you create all of your KPIs. So there's like a natural skimming of this information as you're capturing the machine downtime and the cycles and those types of things that are naturally building some of the performance and the equipment availability and those types of things. As you're capturing quality directly at the point of use, that's impacting your quality systems and your KPIs there. So kind of a side effect is automatically getting some of these KPIs that allow you to continually transform and improve your business. So when we work with customers, we don't look at it from a project A, project B, project C. Let's take these and we're going to do this in 16 months and we're going to dedicate these teams. Instead, it's much more of an agile approach where it's a kind of a consulting type approach where we'll take a look at what are the pains, what are problems going here, and they kind of funnel into our matrix, if you will, into is this a quick win that we can do very low impact, or I'm sorry, very low effort and very high impact. Those are the easy wins that we can target right away. And then we can kind of sort the others that are worth going after that are incremental. So maybe it's not quite the big impact, but it's still not much effort. So, that might be a secondary thing. And then we've got the big bets. This is going to make a huge impact, but it's also going to, require a huge investment. Maybe, the customer needs to put in a full OT system. They need to put in PLCs. So those are really great and they are hugely impactful. But we also know that those take longer time. So we want to make sure that we're future-proofing, but addressing the things that you need right now. I've talked a little bit about the gray work, and we've really just over in the last quarter been focusing on the impact of that through research and just seeing how much time people are spending just getting to do what they need to do, just to be able to enter information, to be able to find that information. You take your typical maintenance worker and how much time are they turning a wrench? That might only be 25% of their day, whereas the rest of the time they're filling out paperwork, they're going into the CMMS system, they're trying to find the parts that they need. So figuring out how to eliminate or reduce that gray work and allow people to just get their work done. You know, and they're practically begging to be able to just get work done. So let's figure out how to make that happen. So one of the, you know, as we've kind of gone through and deployed digitization solutions, and this is pretty consistent, you know, for a lot of, you know, effective solutions, is watching it really impact the problem solving. Watching training go from something that, you know, took 8 hours into something that may take, you know, an hour, or it's done real time. You know, we've watched our customers be able to basically hand over our solution, and day one customers or operators are going in front of the machines and watching pictures and videos, and they're engaged and working, you know, day one, minute one, you know, from the time that they step foot on the floor. And with the amount of churn, with the amount of complexity of technology, with the reshoring, with people retiring, all of those types of things are really going to become more and more important and more impactful. And then as they're trained, they're seeing that they're using a new technology, they're excited, they're seeing results from that. So it's cool to watch that. And then, you know, just watching from a quality perspective as we're engaging operators and having the right, excuse me, the right thing to do would be the easiest thing to do, and engaging with them on how to properly set up, you know, a tool within a machine, or set up a CNC, or make sure all the safety, you know, gates are in the proper alignment, and watching how that impacts not only in the, you know, excuse me, the production and the performance and the you know, the reduction of downtime, but seeing how that impacts the quality and really improves, you know, and reduces that scrap rate. And then always I'm looking at, again, how do we remove that friction? How do we deploy this faster to make it impactful right away, so we don't need teams going through, you know, 4 weeks of training? We love to, excuse me, we love to see that operator grab a solution and be able to start using it right away. It should be that intuitive. So as we get into some of the results of what we've seen by, you know, doing a proper process for allowing an operator to have the tools, to have the knowledge, to have videos, pictures, true tribal knowledge of how this gets set up. And I was just having a great conversation yesterday with somebody talking about, you know, really enabling that operator to be able to have every piece of information that they need, not looking through, you know, a binder and trying to look at a static picture of how to do something, but really having an active engagement with what they're doing. So our customers have seen incredibly impactful results. You know, with the Board Warner, just looking at the man hours that were saved, and the significant reduction in machine setup, reduction in tooling damage, troubleshooting and corrective actions, just so impactful. And this wasn't something that took, you know, 12 months to plan and scheme and draw up. This was something that was just so quickly deployed and used immediately. So then as we look into some of these things that start off as, you know, maybe a small issue, but then as it kind of escalates through the day, through time, through the different personas that have to deal with it, that's how this whole tool came about. Was our CEO had ERP, had MES in his manufacturing plants, had all of the right tools of SCADA and HMI, but still at the end of the day, there was some sort of panic at the end of the day. And if he had seen that, if he had had access to that at the very beginning when it happened at worth zero back there, he would have been able to resolve that before it escalated into impacting, you know, the director of manufacturing. And then all of a sudden, you know, it's grown into a $500,000 program, and the VP of finance is involved, and then the CEO is involved. So we see this over and over, where it's something that starts very small, snowballs into something that is, you know, cataclysmic. And this was, you know, one of our cases with Sigma Foods, and these guys make, you know, they're one of the world leaders in cheese and cold meat. So some of your salamis and cheeses that are made, and they had an issue where they were having machine downtime, and they didn't have any effective way to communicate to operators and maintenance to have the tools that they needed to help them resolve that. but there was also no knowledge from the shop floor, from the equipment, from operators to say, hey, here's what's happening right now. And suddenly that snowballs into something that was so impactful that it ended up requiring them to hire more people, have an extra shift, have extra equipment. So as we were able to help them, we were able to completely reverse that, get real-time information from machines, real-time alerts, provide their maintenance and their operators with step-by-step methods that they could repair it without engaging too far up the chain, and having that information not trapped in the system, but available for them to really use those tools, that information, and then complement that with AI to get some great root cause analysis. So it was great to watch them really start hitting their fulfillment, increase their sales, and really save a lot of money by making them much more effective and making their equipment and their people much more effective. Same thing with the first piece inspection. This was something that one of our manufacturers was running into problems with, again, because the right thing to do wasn't the easiest thing to do. They didn't do it. So as first piece checks, they were running behind, so it didn't become a priority. We got to make parts. Well, that starts escalating into, all of a sudden, they didn't do the check, and their 3 lines are now starting to have this type of issue, and we got bad parts over this period of time. And oh my gosh, now we're so short of parts because of all the scrap. Now we got to add overtime, and all of a sudden that rolls all the way up to the CEO. Something that we could have caught 8 hours or 12 hours or 3 days before has escalated into something that's now on the CEO's desk. So it was really cool watching to see, again, something so quick and so impactful, watch that be embraced by the operators, and then watch the results impact all the way up into management, and huge scrap reductions, great compliance on startups, and now it's being rolled throughout the plant to really make a huge impact. So as I'm talking about this, and I'm talking about how do we remove that friction, so we're looking for that that easy to use interface that our operators are comfortable with. So almost like a social media type interface. It shouldn't be doing tons of logins and investigations and trying to find information. It should be available. It should be multimedia, so they can get the information that they need and really be able to quickly go through checklist and be able to take action. So if that checklist doesn't have a good number, what does that do? Does that trigger an alarm event? Does that pull in the right people into the conversation to say, hey, that temperature is way out of the whack for that piece of equipment, or that safety on that door really isn't doing what it should be? So we need to get the right people engaged right now to take care of that before that snowballs into a big issue. And then what's really cool is watching how AI kind of jumps in now to, again, really amplify the effectiveness of those operators. So many of the things that are non-standard that happen all day, every day, really are never captured. All that tribal knowledge is missed. So we like to use AI to be able to complement and amplify those operators, to be able to take that, that issue that you just had. Now let's turn that into a standardized process that, the next time that it happens at 2 o'clock in the morning, Bob, who was the only guy that knew how to do that, now we have a standard way to be able to go through that and be able to resolve that issue. So AI has really allowed us to amplify that and automate a lot of those types of things, and then provide standard ways to address that the next time that it happens, and capture all the history and all the tribal knowledge so the next person is ready to go. So again, watching some of the success stories of how it's impacting just the quality and downtime. Even if you do, if you are digitally mature and you have all of these systems, you have ERP, MES, you have SCADA systems, making sure that is available and contextual to allow somebody to take action on that. That's really the key, I think, to good digitization, is making sure that you're able to have the context that you need to make decisions. And watching the impact of that has been so cool to watch the downtime and everything. So any questions that we have here?
Thanks so much for all that great information, Tony. I appreciate it. Um, so yes, I'd say really, the primary focus area for many of our manufacturers, they're small, medium manufacturers. So maybe talk about, are there any limiting factors when you're approaching those companies? Maybe they have fewer systems in place. The data, might be, more in need of cleansing or otherwise, there may be more inconsistencies. So what are some of
Yeah.
the things that may cause you to say, hey, this isn't, a good fit?
Yeah, and actually, it's one of those things that we have seen, the impact be just as great on a $1 billion company as it is on a smaller, 50 million, 100 million, $25 million company that is trying to get information, trying to get visibility into what's going on. So we've seen great success with those types of customers too, that maybe don't have the digital maturity, but they still need the visibility, right? They still need accessibility to those types of systems. So it's been great to be able to solve those problems and basically provide a little bit of a roadmap of, hey, you can use our tools to address your immediate needs, but you can also use our tools to help you start planning and identifying where those gaps are, of where you may need more assistance. Do you really need a CMMS system? Do you need an MES system? Do you need an ERP system? So one of the things that our tools have done for customers is helped expose some of the gaps and the opportunities of, yeah, we're having a lot of maintenance issues. So, maybe parts and inventory is an issue. So we know, based on all of the calls that we've had to do using Andonix, that we need to invest more time into our maintenance, or we need to invest more time into a QMS system. So it's been cool to provide a platform that exposes that, and then also as they grow into those systems, we're still agile enough to have the connectivity to continue to amplify those systems as they get more digitally mature.
Okay. And a lot of what you have talked about is how Andonix connects with existing systems.
Mm-hmm.
What, is there a bare minimum systems that need to be in place for Andonix to be effective? Like they just have a basic ERP system, but they're not running a SCADA and they don't have an MES. It's a lot of paper elsewhere.
Yeah.
How does that essentially just highlight that, and then they're needing to go fill those other things in first before it's really effective, or is it cart before the horse at that point?
Yeah, no, it's we've had a lot of opportunities to work with customers. They again aren't as far along the digital maturity as they'd like to be. So we have some customers that don't have MES systems, that don't have any SCADA system, that don't have PLCs. PLCs are controllers that are sitting on an island or have no information at all. They don't even have a PLC. There are so many tools now, with IoT, with software solutions and SaaS, to be able to very agilely go into those operations and say, hey, that press or that food manufacturer, equipment doesn't have any sort of automation. It just churns away. Well, we can put some very low cost IoT devices to capture some very fundamental signals to infer whether they're running and whether pieces were made. So even without an MES system, even without any sort of SCADA or even PLCs, we can still provide some transparency into what's really going on right now. And then again, build that path that as they want more granularity, want more power, we have that roadmap for them.
And then I think this last question, how's the, from a deployment and like pricing model standpoint, how's that structured for Andonix?
That's where for me it gets really fun, because I've worked in the ecosystem of ERP and MES systems that we're looking at 6, 9, 12 more months, and watching our team be able to basically sit down and define the scope of work of what needs to be done, and define the inputs and the workflow and those types of things, and in a matter of days or a few weeks to have them up and running is so impactful. Just to watch that and watch the ROI. It's not unusual for our ROI to be under 30 days. So our typical range starts anywhere from, some of our lowest are around 15,000 to get customers up and running. Then it just kind of scales from there, depending on the complexity of the project, the integrations, the number of users, those types of things all kind of play into that factor.
Okay, and then this is a SaaS model of that moving forward from there. Is that right?
Yep, that's correct. Yes, SaaS model so scaling it is just blazingly fast to be able to get it through, not only throughout your rest of your operations in a single plant, but then to be able to scale to other plants.
Very good, very good. Well, I think that it covers all the time we had for today. We really appreciate your engagement. Certainly, reach out to myself or Tony. See his contact information on the screen if you have any questions. And again, this will be posted up for all to take a look at. So thanks again, Tony.
Thank you. Really appreciate the time, and everybody have a great weekend and holiday.
Absolutely. Have a great weekend. Have a nice holiday, everyone. Take care.